Welcome everyone. I started playing on Vintage Weave's Omega Minecraft server, which is a free server, so you can join. It's run by these guys. I will provide a link in the description. So there are many servers here, but the one we are interested in is this one with the IP. Make sure to check out the rules and definitely join the Discord server. You can also vote on the server in these two places for some in-game rewards. On the Discord server, you find several very useful information on events, the server status, and you can get engaged in the server community life. There are some pin messages here, which is certainly useful for you. Check them out. I will provide them in the description below. For example, on the Modpacks wiki page, you find all the information you need about animals and the items in the game you need to use. Like where you can find the animals, what they are eating, and special care for them. Another one is the Biomes mod, which is in the mod pack. You can find all the information from the biomes you can traverse and find, and what can be found there. Just keep in mind, this modpack is still in beta. There will be changes and there can be bugs. You can get informed all of that on the Discord. Now, let's start playing. After skimming through the wiki, I found the best place to start is to obtain the animal data book. It contains the most important information on the animals in the mod and helps track the well-being of the tame ones we have. As for the animals, I found the best to start by getting my hands on some insects that can be fed to them later. Also, the book recipe requires an earthworm. Insects can be farmed in bug boxes, providing the appropriate food items. And they can be obtained from rotting logs. The different rotting logs are dropping different kinds of insects on breaking them. Now that we have our first quest, let's jump onto the server. After running and random teleporting around the server, I finally find a nice looking unclaimed land. It's kind of a taiga that is surrounded by a coral reef. Quickly, I claimed an area near the sandy shore and sketched up a starter house using the woods growing in the area. It is situated between small mounds, with the front facing to the shore. So there's a chance of a beach with a tiki bar happening when I get to it. Since I already gathered oak logs from the resource world, I was able to make some oak rotting logs and start to chop them up to obtain some mealworms. To get the other two kinds of insects, I had to go back to the resource world and chop down some birch and some acacia wood. Knowing that I need to feed the insects so they could multiply, I chopped down some fir trees to build the farming plots. After little landscaping, I had one for the beets, the potatoes, the carrots, and one for the wheat. Unfortunately, I already planted the carrots when I decided to move their plot back one block. But I thought I would let them grow before I fixed the bug. Having my tools frequently breaking, I went for a short 1 hour long mining session to at least gather some iron. I stayed close to spawn in the resource world, which was already dug up thoroughly, but I thought getting some iron couldn't be much of a problem regardless. In the end, I ended up with a lot of iron, coal and redstone, along with a healthy amount of gold, but I haven't found any diamonds. The way back home, I got some melon and pumpkin seeds which I planted just to the side of my farming plots. This was the time when I realized I had too much stuff, and I needed to start moving everything inside. So I quickly sketched out stairs to finally have access to the second floor and squashed a small storage area under it. Right after I finished, I had an oopsie moment. That happened. That we will never talk about. To counter my mistake, I utilized the birch wood I got and harvested some worms out of them. Moreover, with the worms I was able to checkmark the first thing for our quest 1, the animal data book. Hooray! Building things is quite stressful for me, and I just couldn't live with the thought I hadn't got any diamonds. So I went on another short 1 hour long mining session in the resource world, but this time I traveled a bit farther from spawn. I ran through a desert and ended up in a savanna. I saw some nice animals on the way. The place I went with is open into a ravine. It didn't have too many interesting features, but cut through a mine shaft. So went in and made sure to grab the rails along the way. Maybe I want to have a rail system in my park once. I also grabbed the spider webs, although I still don't know if they can be crafted in this mod pack. I made several attempts at finding diamonds at Y11, but no luck. In the end, I ended up with a huge amount of iron, coal and redstone, with a healthy amount of gold and lapis. And because I intently searched for chest minecarts, I got my hand on some name tags and horse armor. I even found a record, although not a real one. Back at home, I gathered all my dead bugs into a chest because I decided on displaying them once I owned the full collection. And by the way, that pesky carrot still didn't let me fix the farming plot. Encouraged by what I have achieved so far, I began a new quest. This time I am towards obtaining bigger animals. There are tranquilizer and net guns, which can only be bought from a villager. But let's just go with craftable alternatives we can make ourselves. One of which is a net that can capture small and ambient creatures, but that requires some string. Hence, we got a reason to visit the spawner world to kill some spiders. After a bit of struggling to find a way to the hostile mob spawners, I was on track to find the spider one. I stopped to have a try at getting shulker boxes, but sadly I couldn't kill any with me being so undergeared. I almost died in the process. Finally, I got to my goal and gathered some string, but I did die once during that. Okay. Don't Don't die, please. Dad. Before I had my way back home, I stopped in the resource world for some spruce and got sidetracked by discovering that you can grab a butterfly by hand. What now? Okay, what to do now? I picked it up. There is no way to put it down. It was a fun moment. But before I got back to my main goal, another thing sidetracked me. You need the appropriate kibble to tame animals. As I previously researched, the giant anteater, which seems to be the easiest to catch and care for, needs insectivore kibble. And that needs eggs. Back to the spawner world. I spent a bit of time at the chicken coop waiting for eggs to pop, which took much more time than it usually does, even with excessive amount of chickens that spawned. But when I gathered enough eggs, I was already sure of what food I would munch on in the near future. And by the way, we had an escapee. After saying bye to the escapee, I arrived home and immediately got sidetracked again by several things. First, I realized I had a desperate need and had enough materials for a full set of iron armor. Second, I will need to cut down a considerable amount of trees from time to time, especially if I want to continue building my starter house. So, I tried to make scaffolding out of the black bamboo I had on the shore, but they didn't do the trick. I need the vanilla Minecraft or the Biomes Go variant for that. Dang it! Here I go again! Went back to the resource world, but on my way I remembered how hard it was to get the acacia saplings just before, so I did a bit of community farming and went out to savanna biome to chop some trees. And to be honest, it was nice to see some wildlife again. Finishing the chopping, I went for a short detour to look around the neighborhood of the resource world spawn, and I found a place with some interesting looking trees. One of the kinds there was rainbow eucalyptus, which I have gathered some of. The other was mahogany, which I have also gathered, after finding one that wasn't merged too much with the surrounding others. When I got home, I quickly checked what was needed for the capture net and made a bunch of them. This will quick start the animal gathering. After that, I got back to my original quest and made bug boxes for breeding insects as animal feed. I also made some acacia rotting logs and chopped them up to obtain termites. It went well. So, I put all 3 kinds of insects into separate bug boxes and fed them the appropriate food item. Sadly, the rates were just straight disappointing. And finally, after making so much progress and figuring out a lot in one sitting, I went out for a trip to scout the neighborhood. On my way, I explored a nice mushroom forest with different kinds of giant mushrooms. Drove around an amazing hillside that had a waterfall. Seen some orcas just chilling in a bay. Went through plains, weird purple forest, and a swamp. I even found a snowy biome with penguins. I wanted to get a closer look, but a polar bear was protecting them. And it seems, in this map pack, you just don't want to mess with a polar bear.